Welcome to Heartbreaker, your love radio.
John had always been a man of responsibilities. Since he started working as an Uber driver, he dedicated himself to the job with determination, always striving for the best for himself and his girlfriend, Carla. However, everything changed when Carla told him news that would alter their lives forever. With eyes shining with expectation but also filled with uncertainty, she said, John, I'm pregnant." John's world collapsed at that moment. He wasn't ready to be a father, especially at such an uncertain time. John was shocked, not knowing what to do, but this was good news despite the potential difficulties. Carla, on the other hand, seemed more determined than ever. She looked at him and with a firm tone said, I can't have this child. I need freedom. This child is not part of what I want." Those words cut John like a knife. He couldn't understand how the woman he loved could abandon him at such a crucial moment. When Sophia was born, the pain of separation intensified. Carla decided to leave John and the baby, departing for a life that seemed more appealing to her. John was left alone, holding the tiny Sophia in his arms, such a fragile and dependent being. He looked at the newborn's face and made a promise, I will take care of you, Sophia. I will give you the best I can." With a heavy heart and a mind full of uncertainties, he threw himself into an exhausting routine as an Uber driver. Weeks went by, and John found himself submerged in endless shifts. He spent nights driving through the streets while the rest of the city slept. During part of the day, he took care of little Sophia, changing diapers, giving bottles, and trying to find a balance between his responsibilities. John's salvation was his mother, who loved taking care of her granddaughter when he was working. Just one more ride, he repeated to himself, trying to convince himself that all the effort would be worth it. Sophia's smile, however small, was the only light in the darkness forming in his life. After a quick breakfast of a slice of bread and a glass of water, he grabbed the car keys and headed to the garage. The car wasn't new, but John cared for it as if it were a treasure. It was his means of sustenance and, more importantly, the key to the future he dreamed of for Sophia. As he started the engine, he took a deep breath, preparing for the battle that awaited him on the city's streets. The workday began with the same routine. He opened the transport app and waited for the first call. As soon as the phone beeped, he got the address and set off. Let's go, Sophia. Today is a day to make money, he commented to himself, trying to keep his spirits up. Every ride was a new opportunity, a new chance to ensure the little one lacked nothing. Good morning. Where are we headed today?" John asked a passenger who got into the car. He always tried to break the ice, believing that a smile and friendly conversation could make the ride more pleasant. The passenger, a middle-aged man, smiled back and replied, "Good morning. I need to go downtown. Traffic is complicated today, isn't it?" John nodded as he maneuvered the car. Yeah, the city never stops, does it? But that's okay, the more time on the road, the more rides I get." The man looked at him, surprised by the positive energy he emitted, even amid the hustle. "You seem to have a good spirit. What do you do besides driving?" John hesitated for a moment but decided to share a bit of his life. I'm a father, actually. I have a little daughter just a few months old, and I'm doing my best to support her. The life of an Uber driver has its challenges, but it's what I have now." The passenger was impressed. Wow, that's admirable. You're doing important work. Your daughter will be very proud of you when she grows up." Those words were like fuel for John. Every compliment, every recognition, made the exhaustion seem a bit lighter. He drove through the city streets, focused on the rides, but always thinking of Sophia. If I manage a few more rides today, maybe I can buy some new clothes for her, he thought. As the day drew to a close and John was already tired, he decided to take a break. He parked the car in a park and stepped out to breathe some fresh air. Looking at the sky, he whispered, "Sophia, I will give my best. I promise." He thought about how nice it would be to bring his daughter to this park one day so she could play and run freely. As he returned to the car, a new call appeared on his phone. It was a short ride, but John accepted it with gratitude. Every ride counted, and every cent was a step closer to a better future. During the ride, he listened to the passengers and learned from their stories, seeking inspiration from each one. Night fell, and John felt the fatigue starting to weigh on his eyes. However, upon arriving home, Sophia's smile upon seeing him was the only reward he needed. She was awake, babbling and reaching out her little arms. Hi, my princess!" he exclaimed, picking her up and kissing her forehead. "You are the reason I do all this." And so, day after day, John fought to balance his life between work and fatherhood. He knew every sacrifice would be worth it because deep down, what mattered was the love he felt for Sophia and the determination to build a better future for her. And even on the most challenging days, when the exhaustion seemed unbearable, he always found the strength he needed in his daughter's little smile. While John was striving to raise his life and care for his daughter Sophia, Carla was immersed in a completely different world. Driven by a burning desire to become a digital influencer, she left behind the family life she could have had with John. In a big, vibrant city full of opportunities, she invested every penny in recording equipment, lighting, and digital marketing courses. Every new day, Carla found herself immersed in a routine of recordings and postings, desperately trying to build a presence on social media. Today I'm going to do something different," Carla murmured to herself as she adjusted the camera in a crowded cafe. "If I can get a viral video, everything can change." She sighed, looking around, absorbing the vibrant energy of the place. With a forced smile, she began recording. Hi everyone. Today I'm going to share some beauty tips you can't miss." The excitement in her voice didn't reflect the emptiness she felt inside. Over time, Carla began to notice an increase in her followers, though the sense of success was fleeting. The interactions on social media seemed to somewhat compensate for the absence of Sophia and the life she had left behind. But amid this growth, there was a price to pay. She often found herself comparing her new life to what could have been with John and their daughter. Sometimes I think about Sophia, as she once told a friend while having coffee. I feel lost. What if I can't be the mother she needs? What if I'm making a colossal mistake? Carla, you're doing what you want. That's important, it's your life. One day, she'll understand why you had to make these choices, her friend replied, trying to comfort her. But Carla knew that with each passing day, the distance between her and Sophia grew, and that left her anguished. However, even with the growth on social media, Carla found herself trapped in a web of insecurities and uncertainties. The pressure to maintain the perfect image was becoming unbearable. What do I need to do to gain more followers? She wondered in a solitary moment in front of the mirror, trying to hold back the tears. Why can't I be like those influencers who have everything? Over time, the pursuit of fame began to consume Carla. She felt increasingly isolated, surrounded by a world of filters and appearances. One night, while watching a video of a mom influencer sharing happy moments with her children, Carla couldn't contain the pain consuming her. That could have been me," she whispered, her eyes welling up, as a tightness in her chest reminded her of the daughter she had left behind. It was then that she started making risky choices, desperately seeking the validation missing in her life. Drawn by the promise of easy money, Carla got involved in a marketing scheme that initially seemed like the path to success. If I can sell these products, I'll get what I've always dreamed of, as she thought, not realizing the traps awaiting her. Weeks passed, and despite some videos becoming popular, the pressure mounted. Carla found herself increasingly detached from her reality, immersed in a life of appearances, while the longing for Sophia became an unbearable weight. One night, while editing a video, she received a message from a follower. I love your content, but you don't seem happy. What's going on? That question hit her hard, and for a moment, she reflected on the path she had chosen. I need to find a way to reconnect, she said to herself, looking at the computer screen. But what Carla didn't know was that her quest for validation would lead to a financial collapse, a blow that would shatter her ambitions and leave her hopes in ruins. The life she had built, filled with promises and illusions, was about to crumble. John's life, now immersed in sacrifices and hope, was marked by an intense and challenging routine. Every day, he found himself forced to give up small pleasures and even basic needs, always focused on ensuring that his daughter Sophia had everything she needed. The moments he sat down to eat were rare, and he often found himself just chewing on a piece of bread while watching the little one sleep peacefully in her crib. Once while looking at her, John thought, I felt that all the effort was worth it. He remembered his promises, to give Sophia a happy and healthy childhood, even if it meant sacrificing his own happiness. He knew the path would not be easy, but the determination was etched in his heart. The nights were especially long. After a day of work as an Uber driver, he still faced the responsibility of caring for his daughter. At the end of each shift, exhausted, John would take Sophia in his arms, rocking her gently while singing a song his mother used to sing to him, "White clouds, blue sky, I am happy because I am yours." The look in the girl's eyes was a source of renewed energy. "What will I do without you, my love?" he murmured, feeling the weight of his responsibilities. The work days were full of challenges. John strove to earn the trust of his passengers, treating each one with the respect and attention they deserved. On a particularly tiring day, he picked up a regular customer, a young executive named Lucas, who always admired John's dedication. During the ride, Lucas commented, "John, you really are an example. I'm amazed at how dedicated you are. Sometimes I feel that many don't value what they have." John smiled, a tired but sincere smile. "Thank you, Lucas. I don't have much, but I do what I can. My daughter is everything to me. Every sacrifice is worth it when I see her smile." "I understand. Life is full of challenges, but those challenges shape us." "You're doing great, keep it up," said Lucas, nodding in approval. These small interactions helped John keep his hope alive. He remembered how, in the beginning, each ride was a challenge to ensure Sophia's sustenance. But now, over time, he had started to build a base of regular customers who, besides appreciating his work, respected him as a father. John also allowed himself to dream, even if just for brief moments. He dreamed of seeing Sophia grow up, go to school, make friends, and become a strong and independent woman. And maybe one day she can study at a good university, he thought, while looking at the stars at night with Sophia in his arms. The challenges were not just financial. The loneliness also weighed on his heart. Sometimes, he found himself thinking about Carla, about the life they had together before everything fell apart. But the pain of betrayal and loss was overshadowed by the love he felt for Sophia. "She may have left me," John thought, "but I won't let my daughter feel that pain." And so, each day became a new opportunity to show little Sophia what it meant to fight and persevere. He committed to being the best father he could be, even if it meant sacrificing his own ambitions and desires. The hope that his efforts would not be in vain kept him strong. He knew that every sacrifice, every tear, and every smile were part of a journey that, in the end, would be worth it. And as the sun set, John looked at Sophia and whispered, "We will make it, my love. I promise." On a day that seemed ordinary, John was driving through the city streets, focused on his job as an Uber driver. He had spent the previous night taking care of Sophia, who had cried incessantly due to a slight cold. The accumulated fatigue weighed on his eyes, but the determination to provide for his daughter kept him alert. As he drove, he couldn't help but think about how his life had changed since Carla decided to leave. The memories of what could have been still haunted him, but the responsibility he now carried was greater than any past pain. It was then that, upon stopping at one of the pickup points, a man entered the car. Tall and well-dressed, he had an air of confidence that immediately caught John's attention. The man smiled and said, "Good morning. I hope you're ready for a good conversation. I'm Marcos, and I need someone to take me to a meeting." John nodded, adjusting the rearview mirror as he replied, "Sure, Marcos. Where are you headed?" To downtown," Marcos replied, settling into the back seat. And you? How has your day been so far?" John hesitated for a moment. He didn't want to burden a stranger with his worries, but the conversation flowed naturally. Actually, it's a bit tiring. I have a young daughter, Sophia, and I'm trying to balance my work with taking care of her. Marcos raised an eyebrow, interested. A daughter? That must be quite a challenge. How do you manage it all? With a lot of determination, John replied, his voice carrying a mix of pride and sadness. Carla, her mother, decided she didn't want this life anymore. Since then, I've been alone in this journey. My priority is to give Sophia the best life possible. Marcos was silent for a moment, reflecting on John's words. He was impressed by the sincerity and strength that emanated from the driver. That's admirable. It's not easy, but the way you talk about your daughter is inspiring. Thank you, John replied, surprised by Marcos's positive reaction. Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing enough. Life can be so tough. But whenever I see her smile, I feel it's worth it. You're doing more than most would, Marcos said firmly. It's not every day that we meet someone so committed to their family. It says a lot about you. The ride continued, and John began to feel more at ease. They talked about various topics, from daily challenges to the dreams each had. Marcos, noticing John's dedication, started to formulate an idea in his mind. As they reached the destination, he gestured for John to stop the car. Listen, John, Marcos began, with a serious tone. I really admire your work ethic. I'm a businessman and always look for people who stand out for their determination. Have you ever considered working as my personal driver? I could offer a much better salary and benefits that could help you and your daughter a lot. John stood still, his heart racing. Seriously? This is incredible. But I don't know if I'm the right person for it. You're more than right, Marcos assured. You have the attitude I seek in my team. Think about it. We can talk more about the details if you're interested. I would need to think, John said, his mind spinning with the possibility. This chance could change everything for me and Sophia. Marcos smiled, seeing that the offer had resonated with John. Understand that I'm here to help. Life is full of opportunities, and sometimes all we need is a little push. As Marcos stepped out of the car, John realized that this encounter could mark the beginning of a new phase in his life. He looked out at the city through the window, thinking of Sophia and how perhaps luck was finally starting to smile on them. Suddenly, John called out to Marcos. Okay, I accept. I'll give it my best. I can't let this opportunity pass by. The determination in his voice was unmistakable. Excellent. Let's start a new journey then, replied Marcos, with a satisfied smile. What had seemed like a simple conversation had become a turning point in John's life. He didn't know what the future held, but at that moment, he felt that life was finally giving him a chance. And no matter how uncertain the road ahead might be, he knew that he now had someone by his side willing to help him navigate it. John was radiant with his new life. After accepting Marcos's offer, he found himself in a world that once seemed distant and unattainable. The days of endless shifts as an Uber driver were now replaced by a more structured job, allowing him to plan his routine and, most importantly, spend more time with Sophia. The change was palpable. With a smile on his face, he thought about all the moments he could now dedicate to his daughter. One morning, while preparing breakfast, John watched Sophia playing with a toy on the floor. He looked at her fondly and in a moment of reflection said, Sophia, I promise I'll do everything I can to give you the best. You deserve a bright future. Sophia, with her big, curious eyes, looked up at her father and babbled, Daddy, I want to play. The innocence of the child warmed John's heart, who, despite the hardships he had faced, felt grateful for every moment with her. The new job brought not only financial stability but also a support network. John started to build better relationships with his colleagues and even with Marcos, who became more than just a boss. He was a mentor and a friend. During lunch at a cafe near the office, Marcos asked, John, how are you adjusting to the new routine? Are you getting enough time with Sophia? John smiled, still savoring the satisfaction of a more balanced life. I'm loving it, Marcos. It's incredible to be present in her life. On weekends, we explore parks and go on outings. It's a dream I'm finally realizing. Marcos nodded, pleased with the response. I'm glad to hear that. You deserve every moment. And by the way, I've noticed how dedicated you are to your work. It doesn't go unnoticed. Those words had a profound impact on John. He knew his efforts were being recognized and that his choices were paying off. As his confidence grew, he began to feel more secure about the future. The money he earned now allowed him to invest in small things that once seemed impossible, like a new stroller for Sophia and even an online course to improve his driving skills. On one of those quiet nights, while putting Sophia to sleep, John allowed himself to dream a little bigger. Sophia, he whispered, one day, I want you to have everything you desire. I'll work hard so you have better opportunities than I did. Sophia, with her eyes heavy with sleep, just smiled and closed her eyes, as if understanding the depth of her father's words. As the days passed, John's life stabilized. He began to engage in community activities, seeking ways to give back the support he had received. He participated in local events, where he shared his story and encouraged other single parents not to give up on their dreams. He always said, if I made it, you can too. The key is to never lose hope. The change in his life was not just financial, but also emotional. The sense of accomplishment and the joy of being a present father transformed John. He found himself happier, more confident, and above all, more connected to his daughter. With every smile from Sophia, every new word she learned, he felt that all the effort and sacrifice were worth it. One sunny afternoon, while playing in the park, John paused to watch Sophia run and play with other children. He remembered how it all started. The difficulties, the loneliness, the fear of the unknown. But now, with his new life, everything seemed different. He smiled to himself, thinking that adversity had truly turned into a story of overcoming and love. And so, with a heart full of hope, he continued to walk his path alongside Sophia, each day more determined to build a better future. While John thrived in his new life as Marcos's personal driver, Carla found herself in a deep abyss. The big city life, which once seemed full of promises and opportunities, had quickly turned into a nightmare. Her dreams of becoming a digital influencer were not materializing, and to make matters worse, she had fallen victim to an online scam. A group of hackers had infiltrated her accounts, taking not only her money but also the trust she had built with her followers. One morning, Carla woke up in her small apartment, the sun filtering through the curtains, but there was no warmth in her heart. She looked at her phone, the finance app that once inspired her now only bringing bitter memories. How did I get to this point? She murmured to herself, as tears streamed down her face. She remembered Sophia's smile, the innocence she left behind, and the man John had been. He's better off without me, isn't he? She thought, feeling a pang of guilt. Determined to change her situation, Carla started looking for a job. But doors kept closing one after another. Companies didn't want anything to do with an influencer who had fallen from grace. What was once a calling card was now a stain on her reputation. Desperate, she decided she needed a plan. And maybe I can go back and ask John for help, as she thought, though the idea pained her. But he won't want me back, not after what I did. In her search for answers, she remembered a friend who lived in the city and decided to reach out. Anna. It's Carla. Do you remember me? Her voice trembled over the phone. Of course, Carla. It's been so long. How are you? Anna replied, a tone of surprise in her voice. Actually, I'm not doing very well. I need a job and, well, I don't know who else to turn to, Carla confessed, fighting against the lump in her throat.
Anna hesitated.
Look, I'd love to help, but things are tough around here. At the moment, I don't know anyone who's hiring. Have you tried reaching out to those brands you promoted before? I've tried. But it didn't work out. They don't want anything to do with me, Carla said, feeling the frustration take over. You need a new strategy, maybe a fresh start. How about trying something different, like cooking or craft classes? What do you think? Anna suggested, trying to be encouraging. I don't know, maybe. But what I really want is to be with Sophia, Carla replied, her voice breaking. She knew that John's priority was their daughter, and that pained her. Days turned into weeks, and Carla's situation did not improve. Food was scarce, and bills were piling up. One afternoon, while walking through the city streets, she came across a group of mothers with strollers. The sight of small children reminded her of Sophia, and a wave of longing hit her. "And what have I done?" she whispered to herself, feeling the weight of loneliness. Meanwhile, John was radiant. He received a promotion at Marcos's company. This wasn't just a change in position, but a true transformation in his life and his daughter Sophia's. He still remembered the first time he talked to Marcos during that seemingly ordinary ride that had become a turning point. Now he was about to take on a new role, one that would put him in a position of greater responsibility and consequently, more stability. John, you have no idea how good it is to have you on our team," Marcos said, smiling as he handed John a new badge with the title of Fleet Supervisor. "Yeah, I've always admired your work ethic and dedication. You deserve this." John, holding the badge with trembling hands, responded, "Thank you, Marcos. I don't know how to express how much this means to me and Sophia. I just want to ensure a better future for her." And you're doing exactly that," Marcos affirmed, firm and encouraging. "From now on, you'll have more flexibility to manage your time. You might even have the chance to work from home in some situations, allowing you to spend more time with your daughter." Emotion overwhelmed John. He remembered all those nights he had worked late, not knowing if he could cover all the bills and responsibilities. "Sophia is my priority. Every decision I make is for her," John said, tears in his eyes. "I promised myself I would do whatever it takes to give her a better life than mine." And you're fulfilling that promise brilliantly," Marcos responded, admiring John's determination. "I hope this new position brings you not only more security but also a balance in your life. What do you think about starting to plan some improvements for the fleet? With your practical knowledge, I'm sure we can make great strides." John felt a wave of confidence course through him. He had always had ideas on how to optimize the operation, but he had never felt in a position to present them. Now, with the promotion, he not only had a voice but also the responsibility to implement changes. "I would love that. I have some ideas on how we can improve efficiency. Can we discuss this later?" "Sure, let's schedule a meeting. I'm eager to hear your suggestions," Marcos replied, already starting to jot down notes in his agenda. Thus, the following days were filled with new challenges and opportunities. John dedicated himself intensely to his new role, and soon he began implementing improvements that not only increased fleet efficiency but also improved the morale among drivers. He made a point to always maintain an open and encouraging dialogue with everyone, remembering how he had always been treated by Marcos. Time passed, and Sophia grew. One night, after a long day at work, John came home to find Sophia playing on the living room floor. She looked at him with a wide smile that lit up the room. John's heart filled with joy. "Hi, Daddy. Look, I made a drawing for you." She handed him a colorful paper where she had scribbled a figure that, as far as John could tell, was a happy family. "Oh wow, Sophia. This is amazing. You're a real artist." He knelt beside her, admiring every detail of the drawing. "You drew all of us here, didn't you?" "Yes. Look, here's me and here's you and here's Mommy," she responded, pointing to each figure with enthusiasm. "Yes, dear, it's a very special drawing." "I'm so proud of you," John said, holding her hand tenderly. "You know I'm working hard so we can have a better future, right?" "I know, Daddy. And I love you so much," Sophia exclaimed, wrapping her little arms around her father's neck. John felt a wave of happiness as he hugged Sophia. She was the reason he kept fighting, even when the days seemed endless. He looked into her eyes and made a silent promise, a renewed commitment to do everything in his power to ensure she had a bright future. And now, with a new position, he knew he was one step closer to fulfilling that promise. John watched the sunset from the window of his modest apartment, a smile of satisfaction lighting up his face. He never imagined he would get to this point, so far from those difficult days when he could barely make ends meet. Now, with a stable job and a safe environment for Sophia, he felt at peace. The little girl was in her room, playing with her toys, unaware of the turbulent past her father had faced. Meanwhile, Carla continued to face her own struggles. After the collapse of her career as a digital influencer, she found herself trapped in a cycle of regret and frustration. The glamour and promises of success that had drawn her to the big city had evaporated, leaving her with debts and a tarnished reputation. She tried to find a new direction, but each step seemed harder than the last. Carla, you need to start over. Selling these things isn't going to get you anywhere, said a friend over the phone, concerned about her situation. And what do you really want to do? I don't know anymore. I just wanted things to work out. Look at John, he's making everything happen, and I'm here, not knowing what to do, Carla replied, the frustration evident in her voice. You need a plan. Think about what you love and how you can turn that into something that can help you get back on your feet, her friend suggested, but Carla just sighed. Meanwhile, John was at home, preparing dinner. He looked at Sophia, who seemed so happy and full of life. The window guard and the soft light of the lamp created a cozy environment for the two of them. He thought about how every sacrifice had been worth it. That night, while they were having dinner, Sophia asked a question that caught John by surprise. Dad, do you think Mommy still loves me? John hesitated, the question weighing heavily on his heart. Sophia, your mom. She has her own problems right now. But know that I love you, and I will always be here to take care of you. What if she comes back? Sophia asked with the innocence of a child who still dreams of a maternal figure. If that happens, we'll handle it together, like we always do, John replied, trying to convey security. The truth was that he feared the possibility of Carla returning, but he knew he needed to be strong for Sophia. Looking at the horizon, he smiled, knowing that despite the challenges that might still arise, he had found purpose and direction. He was not just raising Sophia, he was shaping a future. And that, to him, was true redemption.